The poorest royal families in the world. You probably think of the royal families when asked about ultra-wealthy families, right? But you will be surprised to learn that some royal families aren't particularly wealthy when you compare them to others. The truth is, some royal families have a normal life like ordinary citizens. But why? Was it a choice, or some were forced to? Even if it was a family choice, why would a family choose to stay poor? Let's get it on. Number 1. The House of Bourbon-Anjou, Spain. The country is led by King Philippe VI of Spain, who took the throne in 2014. Recently, in a transparency exercise in an effort to be open and truthful with his people, he disclosed the exact extent of his wealth and its components. The monarch's total wealth is surprisingly low and would not even rank among the top 100 richest people in Spain, even though it excludes the assets of his wife, Queen Letizia. In reality, Philippe VI might be the poorest king in all of Europe. His complete financial statements show that he is worth $2.57 million. His net worth would automatically put you on an equal footing with the King of Spain even if you had no money in your current account. That is, if you owned property in the affluent areas of Ibiza, Barcelona, the Greater Madrid region, or in the province of Malaga's Golden Mile. In addition to bank deposits and investment funds, Philippe VI's riches are made up of jewelry, antiquities, and pieces of art. Surprisingly, he doesn't even own any real estate or land. The majority of his money is either in savings, current accounts, or investments. And when it comes to his personal possessions, including his jewelry collection, they are worth about $306,000. Number 2. The House of Oldenburg, Norway. In comparison to other royal families in Europe, the Norwegian royal family leads the simplest life, and its king is one of the world's poorest heads of state. Even on ceremonial occasions, the Norwegian royal family's casual attire sets them different from other nobles. Surprisingly, they attempt to generate their own income rather than rely on government assistance. For instance, Prince Harkin collaborated with the band to make a Christmas single. Because of how well received the song was, the prince gave all the proceeds from the partnership to charity for the love of his people. If you take a look at the beautiful royal couple, you will realize it had to endure a lot before they could live together. However, at the end, their union developed into one of the monarch's strongest unions. In fact, Harold and Sonia both had birthdays on the same day. They first connected at a friend's gathering. At that time, Sonia was a saleswoman with aspirations of becoming a fashion designer. On the other side, Olaf V, Harold's father, was against his son dating a regular girl. But in some ways, Harold and Sonia's romance was no longer a secret because of the pervasive media, and the Norwegian populace publicly endorsed the heir's choice. Prince Haakon enjoys making jokes on formal occasions. For instance, he abruptly vanished and then resurfaced on the day of his parents' anniversary. Well, this one is unique. You can spot one or all of them on most days. The royal family doesn't travel by private jet to secluded islands for vacation, it doesn't stay out of sight behind high walls, and does not employ vicious bodyguards. Number 3. Belgium Royal Family. King Philippe of Belgium is the least wealthy of Europe's 10 kings, with a net worth of $12.4 million. And no wonder all costs directly expended by King Philippe in Belgium are covered by the civil list. Additional support services are also funded by the government, and when it comes to the Belgian royal properties, they're either owned by the state or by the Royal Trust, an independent public organization with its own finances. No property owned by the trust can ever be sold. When King Baudouin I passed away in 1993, it was anticipated that Philippe would succeed him. However, at the time, Philippe was undecided about whether to take the throne, leading some to believe that Philippe, who was 33 at the time and unmarried, was not yet ready to rule the country. In 1993, Philippe was named honorary head of the Belgian Foreign Trade Board and traveled widely in that position, and in the same year, he served as the National, now Federal, Council for Sustainable Development. He was then elected to the Belgian Senate in June 1994 and finally ascended to the throne in July 2013. Currently, the royal family earns $12 million annually, but a plan is being drafted by Belgian legislators that would cut down on this sum. According to the government, Belgium's royal family should pay taxes and give up some state benefits, bringing them in line with several other citizens in Europe. Number 4. The Danish Royal Family. Despite having castles, fancy cars, and exquisite jewelry, the Danish royal family is not extremely wealthy. The country is being led by Margrethe II, the 79-year-old monarch who is thought to be worth 35.5 million euros. She was born in 1940 and has been ruling Denmark since 1972. The next person to take the throne is believed to be her son, Crown Prince Frederik, who was born in 1968, a descendant of Harald Bluetooth and Gorm the Old. Their primary source of income comes from the appanage, royal provisions that the Danish parliament annually grants as a component of the state budget. They total to about $12 million and are intended to cover their direct yearly expenses, which include a sizable portion for employee compensation. Luckily, the state reimburses the royals for their paid VAT, so their purchases of goods and services such as vehicles are less expensive than those of average Danish residents. Moreover, the royals must also pay inheritance tax and property tax. The Agency for Palaces and Cultural Properties oversees the state-owned principal residences, making them available to the reigning monarch. The sole exceptions are the three residences, that is the Marselisborg Slot, Château de Cailly in France, and the Royal Hunting Lodge in Jutland at Trend, which belong to the Queen as her personal properties. And by the way, the Queen and other members of the royal family reside in the state-owned castles, that is, Amalienborg, Fredensborg, Gersten, and the hunting lodge, Hermitage Slottet. The Christiansborg Castle itself was never utilized as a residence. And when it comes to state visits and formal business, the Queen only uses the royal reception rooms, but when not being used by the Queen, they are accessible to the public. And guess what? The royal family's children attend regular public schools, while the adults are frequently seen dining out, shopping, or riding bicycles in public, just like any other Dane. Number 5. The House of Bernadotte. In 1993, King Carl Gustaf XVI succeeded his grandfather, King Gustav Adolf VI. He is the head of the family and is now leading the country together with his wife, Queen Sylvia. This was all after Prince Gustav Adolf unfortunately perished in a plane crash not long after his birth, making King Carl Gustaf XVI the legitimate heir. He is now 73 years old with a net worth of $62 million. However, the monarchy ranks 5th in terms of wealth in Europe. Carl Gustaf and his wife Queen Sylvia reside in the slightly smaller Drottningholm Palace, despite the fact that they can use the Stockholm's majestic 600-room Royal Palace. They reportedly receive an annual government grant of $11.8 million. The family also owns a number of estates for itself, including Solliden Palace, which serves as their official summer residence and is located on the Baltic Island. Moreover, they have access to a French villa and a ski lodge in the border town of Jämtland, Sweden. Surprisingly, he disqualified 5 of his grandkids from receiving public funds by removing them from the royal family. While the grandchildren of King Carl Gustaf XVI will no longer have official positions, they will continue to hold the titles of Duke and Duchess. And luckily, the king's oldest child and heir apparent Crown Princess Victoria, her husband Prince Daniel, and their 2 children are not going to be affected in any way. Nevertheless, even though Sweden's society is largely egalitarian, the royal family is incredibly well liked there. Number 6. The House of Orange-Nassau. It's led by King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands, who was born on April 27, 1967. He ascended to the throne after his mother surrendered in 2013. Between his secondary school and university education, Willem-Alexander served in the Royal Netherlands Navy from August 1985 to January 1987. He has a fortune estimated to be worth around $35 million, despite the fact that he receives approximately $46 million to cover his family's expenses. This budget accounts for the costs of international tours and official visits. However, the budget stopped covering private flights in 2014. And currently, many of the country's citizens want the monarch to receive less money and pay taxes. More than 19,000 people signed a petition asking that Willem-Alexander's salary be reduced from his mother's $850,000 to just $150,000. Later on, Willem-Alexander agreed to receive a lower salary and pay taxes, although he did forewarn that staff job losses would follow any wage reduction. This eventually happened, making him also one of the poorest monarchs in the world. Number 7. Te Wherowhero Royal House. The family is in Maori and it's being led by King Tuheitia. He is the eldest son of the previous Mori monarch and was crowned king on August 21, 2006, the day of her Tangihanga funeral rites. His net worth is unknown, but he does not possess or demand any of the typical king's riches or possessions. In reality, he lives in a low-income area of New Zealand. According to the website People.ai, he most likely only has $336,000. In the eyes of the average person, he's not poor, but in the eyes of the king, he is. There was even talk that King Tuheitia couldn't fix a leak at his home, but nevertheless, Maori King tries to avoid the cameras by focusing on his people and their problems. And that's all from us today. Anyway, would you choose to stay poor in a royal family? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more of our luxurious content. And why not click on another video showing now? This is The Luxurious. Talk to you in the next video.